Welcome, folks, and welcome back to RRTV, where we're going to be covering the OpenStar Mazda Australian Championship, again coming to you from Brands Hatch. I'd like to welcome to our commentary box Trent Thomas. How are you going, Trent?
G'day Bernie, g'day viewers. Yeah, I'm not too bad myself. How are you?
I'm really good, and it's looking a little bit stormy out there today, but I guess the rain will hold off because we are in iRacing and we don't seem to get the rain. But let's have a look at our track at the moment. So, having a look at the weather, it hasn't really changed at all since our last race, the Skip Barber. It's still mostly cloudy out there with an air temp of 21 degrees Celsius. The wind's 14 kilometres per hour and it's coming from the west, and we have a track temp of 27. So it's looking nice and cool for the drivers out there today, Trent.
Yeah, hopefully we shouldn't see too much in the way of tyre degradation or anything like that. It should be nice, cool conditions for the guys.
Yeah, and I noticed the guys are in pit lane, so I'm assuming the race administration's going through all the rules at the moment.
That is correct, yes. We have Matt Wilkins in race control. He's currently going through all what's expected of the drivers, any last minute reminders for rules and all the regulations to make sure that we have as clean a race as possible and we're not handing out any penalties.
Yeah, well, we definitely don't want to do that, but we're just having a look at the practice results at the moment. Looks like John Allett has set the fastest time during the warm-up of a 1:21.154, followed by Greg Barber, Josh Rogers in the third, fourth Nathan Groudon, and fifth Matthew Trotman. So, based on the qualifying, who should the viewers be keeping an eye out for in this race?
Well, I think our pole sitter James Keane is meant to be here, but unfortunately he's had some technical issues and not sure if he'll make the grid or not. Greg Barber was the second qualifier, and he's I think their times are about 2 or 3 tenths of a second ahead of third place on the grid. So Greg Barber, I would put my money on at this point to see up the front there. John Allett as always, but he has actually qualified a little bit further back for this race.
Yeah, so he's going to have quite a bit of work to do, and we did notice James didn't make the grid for the Skippy race, which could explain the hardware issues he's facing at the moment. But it's good to see Colin Sudi out there again. He was running in the Skip Barbers previously, so he's doing the double header. And just having a look through, we've got our RRTV commentary co-commentator Adrian Jarvis having a run today.
Yeah, he's been putting in the laps the last few weeks in qualifying sessions, so he's been getting slowly faster and faster each week, each session. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on him and see where he ends up for this race.
Yeah, he's definitely looking forward to it, and for the viewers out there, this will be a 40-lap race. We do have full course yellows. We have race control with Matt Wilkins down there calling the shots, and it's a 65-minute time certain race. Now, as far as fuel and pit stops go, Trent, did you want to take us through how you think that's going to play out today?
Yeah, from quick calculations, I think most drivers are looking, their fuel run will probably stretch them, if they really stretch it, to lap 33, but I don't think you'll see many taking it past 31 or 32, and then it's just a matter of filling up to get home. Yellow flags, obviously cautions, safety car, they're using less fuel, so it'll be interesting to see whether any of them try to stretch it so they don't have to stop, but I honestly don't think they'll make it home unless half the race is fully yellow. But and yeah, if again with the yellows the race is time certain, we're looking at probably 50 to 55 minutes to if it's full green flag running, and if we have a yellow we do have that 65-minute time certain, so we're not here all day if we do have a rash of cautions for some reason.
Yeah, well, that's right, and we'll be covering another race after this today. For the viewers out there who are probably not watching this, it's because we're still having streaming issues, but the replays will be shown or just uploaded later today. But how long we got now? 3 minutes 48 to go until the guys will grid up. At that point, we will take you through the starting grid, and it should be an exciting race, as we can see the guys coming out now to finish their final warm-up. So you can see Paul Nelson at the moment just getting a bit of a warm-up, and I guess, Trent, warming up, what would these guys be doing at this point? Would they just be trying to settle in?
I think what they'll be just doing now is just running through their final checks, making sure that their fuel mileage is matching what they're expecting, so they can finalise their pit stops and that sort of thing. Maybe they'll get a feel for what the car's like on that first lap on cold tyres with a full tank of fuel, just so they know what to expect on the first lap after we go green.
Yeah, and I guess the guys have been qualifying all week in this sort of track condition, and because we're not running dynamic, they should have the cars pretty dialed in at this point.
Yeah, we certainly think so. They've had 9 sessions before today, 9 2-hour sessions to tune their cars, so that's 18 hours they've had worth of track time. Obviously not all of them have done 18 hours, but that's how much time has been available for them to get out on track and just try and get their cars tuned to the way they are. Obviously they were all purely qualifying sessions, but a lot of the guys were turning a lot of laps in those sessions, so I'm sure they were working on their race setups as well once they'd sort of set their times that they were aiming at.
Yeah, and what sort of race pace are we expecting from the Star Mazda today?
Well, I think we can still see probably mid to low 21s, I think, once we get going. For the front runners, I think our qualifying time was a 1:20.4 for the pole position, which is really quite fast. But a majority of the field were running in the 1:21s.
Okay, so for the viewers out there, the last race we covered, the Skip Barbers, they were doing 1:38's race pace. So these guys are going to be good. Let me do my maths. 17 seconds a lap faster.
Yeah, about 17 seconds by the looks of it. Obviously the downforce is probably the biggest thing with these, and obviously the slick tyre will make a big difference between this car and the Skip Barber.
Yeah, well, that's right, because these guys are running slicks where the Skippy was running, as we see a car in the background hit the fence. Fortunately, you can repair that. But yeah, as I was saying, the Skippy runs a treaded tyre, and these guys have a lot more downforce than what that car has as well.
And also, I don't know if anyone's been watching the actual V8 supercars on at Townsville this weekend. They've got the new Formula 4 series in support for them this weekend, and they kind of look very similar, and I think they drive fairly similar to these cars too. So although the engine's a lot different, I believe these are a Mazda rotary engine. The ones in Formula 4 are a Ford EcoBoost 1.6 litre turbo, so the engines are different, but the cars look very similar, and they probably handle and drive very similar too.
Yeah, I think they would handle very similar, and while I was watching that broadcast of that race earlier today, it definitely reminded me of this type of car. I think that car in Australia, the Eco Boost engine, is based around a Ford Fiesta 1.6, I think.
Yeah, it's based on the Fiesta 1.6 litre turbo engine. And I think the EcoBoost Ford engines are very known for their economy and the amount of torque that they produce.
That's right, and anyway, guys, the grid is set, so let's go through our grid. We've got Greg Barber out of pole, followed by Josh Rogers in second. Matt Trotman will start at a third. John Allett is out of fourth. Fifth is Aaron Osborne. Sixth, Colin Sudi. Seventh, Bear. Kanowski, eighth. Ninth, Groudon. Tim Ballinger out of 10th. Will Sutton, 11th. Darren Connors will start out of 12th. Jones out of 13th. Carter, 14th. 15th is Adrian Jarvis. 16th, Lachlan Wyatt. 17th, Ty Tran. And rounding out our field of 18 is Paul Nelson. So we've got a few gaps there on the grid, but that's because some of the guys did have hardware issues, which does happen, but the revs will be rising now, folks, as we are under starters orders. 41 laps remaining. Red light, waiting for green. We have green light, and we're underway for round 4 of Ozsmack.
Greg Barber's got off to a brilliant start there, and he managed to get the field a little bit going to turn 1.
That's right, and we've got Matthew Trotman running wide, but they're continuing. It looks like a fairly clean start as they go through 2 wide, in through David's there, coming into turn 3 now.
Josh Rogers has made his way to the front now, and he's starting to get the field. I don't know whether Barber had a problem there or not.
And we've had an incident at the back. They're still continuing, but it looks like AJ Bear got around that. I'm just seeing who's pulled off onto the infield there, but we've got one car already on the side of the road there, Trent.
Yeah, I think that's Andrew Kanowski. I think he's getting going now.
But at the moment we've got Josh Rogers. He's got a huge lead at the moment over Greg Barber in second position. So Josh has had a fantastic start there.
Looks like Colin Sooty's had a bit of an incident of some sort at the back of the field. Looks like he's got a bent rear wing and he's travelling a little bit under speed here. I wonder if he'll come into the pits for some repairs. Yeah, he's not in control of that car at all.
Yeah, well, we saw that incident earlier, and we'll go back to that because he did actually trip over another car. So let's jump back and have a look at this replay before we jump in for the action at the front. So I'll go back a bit further. I'm not having much luck with our replays today, folks, but okay, well, it's not going to let me jump back, so we'll go back to live pictures. So at the moment, folks, we've got Josh Rogers here with a huge gap, 1.4 seconds over Greg Barber in second. John Allett has jumped up into third position at the moment, and Aaron Osborne, Matthew Trotman are battling out for fourth and fifth.
I think the man to beat in previous races has been John Allett, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can make his way up to the front. But I'll tell you what, Rogers just seems to be in a class of his own at the moment.
Well, that's exactly right. He wasn't starting in pole, but he's absolutely stretching that lead out front. I'm just trying to get a live gap for us here, folks. 1.9 seconds. So where's this guy come from?
I know Rogers was, I think, a force in the first round of Ozsmack as well. He was involved in that 3-car battle, I think, towards the end of that race. So he's definitely had pace, but I think he's had some bad luck. I know at Montreal, I think he hit the wall of champions, and that took him out of contention there. So hopefully he can keep it on the black stuff, and he'll end up with a good result here.
Well, that's right. Well, he's in the prime seat for a good result at this stage with 38 laps to go, still a long way. Aaron Osborne got the car a bit sideways last lap, but he's recovered, and he's got Tim Ballinger sitting back there in 6th position. Having a look at how our RRTV co-commentator Adrian Jarvis is going at the moment, he's sitting up in 13th, so it's great to see he's improved 2 positions since the start.
Yeah, it's good to see him in there having a go, and I think he only was made aware of this series, this car, only fairly recently, and I think he's really embraced it. From what I've heard him talk about, he's really was looking forward to this race.
Yeah, definitely, and he's running under the TD Racing banner today, and that team's run by Tim Ballinger, so it's good to see Adrian enjoying his racing, because I know he does a lot for the commentary as well. But
sorry, I think we just put the commentator's curse on him. He's just run wide and he's lost a couple of positions.
Yeah, I jumped the camera off him straight away, so he can't be blamed for that. But at the moment, Josh Rogers has stretched that gap out to 2.2 seconds, and followed by Greg Barber in second. Looking at their lap times, he's gaining about 0.3 of a second over Greg each lap. then we've got John Allett in third position, and fourth Matthew Trotman, and Aaron Osborne rounds out our top five. And Aaron's having a look now on Matthew Trotman.
That's another one of those TD racing cars. I think they've got 4 cars in the race here today. I do like that sort of effect that they've got, almost like a camouflage but in blue. Just pattern that they've got on their cars.
Yeah, it definitely looks effective, doesn't it? And it's quite different to what they run in the GTs. So yeah, I like that paint job.
Yeah, Rogers has extended the lead yet again, another 4/10 of a second, I think, by the looks of it. So he's just on fire at the moment. Hopefully he's not pushing too extremely, and yeah, you can keep it safe.
Well, I guess once he gets a big enough gap, you can then just afford to pace it. In fact, he probably should pace it, because at any time we could end up with a safety car, and then that gap's going to be lost.
That's exactly right. I forgot what I was going to say there. Yeah, you don't want to push it too hard. He's definitely, like, nobody's in his draft at all. So by pushing it too far to the extreme, he could end up with an incident. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, obviously, maybe he is driving within his limits, and that's just his natural pace around here.
Well, it definitely could be, but the beauty of having the safety car, the guys have to drive these races a bit differently. You know, they've really got to manage their tyres and that gap, because unlike where they run under local yellow, at any point that gap of 2.6 seconds can evaporate.
And I think we saw that in round 1 when John Allett, he had a 15-second lead over the entire field, and from the caution that came out, that lead was completely obliterated.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what can happen, and Josh Rogers just set a fastest lap, 1:21.182, so he's knocking on the door of the 120s, and if he got that fast, that would be a scorching pace.
Yeah, that's around qualifying time as well. We only had, I think, 3 or 4 cars under the 121 barrier, so had about 3 or 4 cars who were 1:20. So to do low 121s in race pace, yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, so as far as the only thing I can think of is if he's running light on fuel at the start and doing a bit of a reverse strategy. But what sort of a pit window are there for these guys in this race today?
I think the earliest we could probably see anybody pit would be around lap 8 or 9, and the latest you'll probably see them is around laps 31, 32.
As we can see now, Tay Tran here in 12th position. He's just overtaken Nathan Growden, I think it was.
He seems to be doing quite well too. He started towards the back of the field, so it's good to see him. I don't think he's run races with us before, so he's a newcomer to the series, so it's good to see him having a good run.
In fact, the guy I thought was Tay is actually Adrian. Adrian's up into 11th at the moment. Well, Nathan now makes a move on Tay Tran there. And yeah, so Adrian's having a great run, but side by side, Tay Tran and Nathan Growden down the front straight. And Tay Tran takes the that position back off Nathan, so that was great driving there. The only other battle we've got out there at the moment is between Aaron Osborne and Matthew Trotman, I think.
Yeah, these guys have been running nose to tail since the start of the race.
So as far as pit strategy goes for the viewers out there, are we expecting these guys to run the whole race on one set of tyres, or do you think they'll be having to take tyres in their pit strategy?
Depending on the fuel that they have to put in, a tyre stop in these cars takes about 20 seconds to do both fronts and rears. The way they change the tyres is they'll do both fronts at once and both rears at once, so it separates the stop into two halves essentially. So if you want to, perhaps you might be suffering a little bit of understeer and your front tyres are suffering a bit, you may be able to put on just front tyres, which will about 10 seconds to change those tyres. Obviously the fuel, if it takes about 10 seconds to do fuel as well, then and you're suffering from those tyre issues, there's no reason we won't see some guys doing that option of trying to get some new tyres to get them home. And the guys, we have seen it in the past where the guys have either taken just fronts or just rears, and they tend to be a little bit stronger towards the end of the race.
So I think unlike GT racing, these guys can take fuel at the same time that they're changing tyres, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. They'll do the fuel and the tyres at the same time. So pretty much like V8 supercars, for instance, they can fuel and change their tyres at the same time.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye out on that. At the moment, the drivers that have found trouble out there, Andrew Kanowski looks like he may have retired from today's race. Colin Sudi, we saw in a first lap incident, he is still running, but he's one lap down at this time. The other guys, I think they're the only two that have had some bad luck, but Colin's running around there with a bent rear wing because, like real world, they don't have any fast repairs in this series.
Yeah, that's right. Not like the Thursday night series where they have an incident, they can come in and get a free repair done on their car. Here, they don't have any free repairs at all, so whatever damage they do to their car, they have to sit in the pits and wait for the mechanics to fix it.
We've just had Will Sutton also exit the pits. He did a 10-second stop, so with 32 laps to go, is that within the pit window you said earlier, or do you think he's had some sort of incident?
No, I think he's just within that pit window. He has been talking. He's one of the drivers that is quite really good at sharing information and that sort of stuff. He shares his setups, shares pit strategy, fuel usage information, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, big shout out to Will Sutton. He's really good in that regard for the series, and he was talking about pitting as early as he possibly could, and I think he's just within that window now. So if we do have a caution, that does put him in a pretty good position where everyone else will come in, and that'll put him towards the front of the field.
Well, that's right, and no doubt he's playing to that safety car, but at the moment with the field spread out, it doesn't look likely. But, commentators curse, I just said it, so we'll probably have a huge accident now. But having a look at these battles, Darren Carter's starting to close up on the back of Darren Connors for 9th position. And then further up, we've still got that battle between Matthew Trotman and Aaron Osborne for 4th and 5th position.
It looks like we've got AJ Bear and Tim Ballinger also running fairly close together at the moment.
Yeah, that's for 6th and 7th. We've got Tim out front of AJ, and I like AJ's paint job too. It looks very zebra. And but it's good to see Tim out here running. He normally runs in the GT3s, so it's great to see him getting some open wheeler action.
Yeah, Tim's been joining the last couple of races. Himself and Aaron Osborne have been running, and they've brought along, I believe, Darren Connors, who's another. They're all TD racing cars, I believe.
Yeah, they are TD racing, and that's a pretty new team, but it's growing at an astonishing rate, and they're getting a great lineup of drivers there, and it's great to see that team supporting this category and having great racing as well.
It's always good to see new teams coming in, and the fact that they do have quality drivers is also a really great thing for them.
Yeah, that's right. It's pretty hard, for new teams normally to get those quality drivers, but it's great to see that driver lineup expanding. And, it's also great for the series, and we've got quite a few big teams out there tonight.
Yeah, I think we've got All-Star Motorsports. We do have Evolution Racing Australia through Craig Jones. James Keane, as mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, he did have pole position for ERA, and unfortunately technical issues has kept him from making it to the grid.
Yeah, those teams, All Stars Motorsport, great to see them out here having a great run today, and bad luck for Evolution Racing Australia. They were pretty strong in the last race and finished as high as third, I think, in the Skippies, so hopefully we'll see them bounce back for the Formula One that's coming on after this race.
And just also mentioning the All-Star Motorsports there, they're currently running first and fourth in this race.
Yeah, so that's Josh Rogers, who's got a huge gap now, over 5 seconds over Greg Barber. His fastest lap was a 1:20.915, so he has cracked the 120s there. So that's fantastic driving by Josh. And it's all Josh Rogers at this stage. Greg Barber's 5 seconds down, and he's closely followed by John Allett, who's starting to close that gap.
Yeah, I think Allett is starting to close in on Barber. Just mentioning that Rogers as well, that his qualifying time was a 1:20.890, so he's almost on qualifying pace there.
It's absolutely scorching pace. It sort of makes me think he must be running light, but I guess we'll only know when he elects to take that pit stop.
Yeah, that's true. If he's running this sort of pace because the car's light, he will have to stop longer, but yeah, he might be making that up on track for what extra he has to spend in the pits. So it'll be interesting to see how the pit stops play out and where it leaves the field.
Yeah, so then looking back at 4th and 5th, Aaron started to close in now on Matthew Trotman. So there's a bit of a battle starting to brew here for 4th position.
We just had Ty Tran. I just noticed he's actually 2 laps down, so he must have had an incident of some point. He's currently sitting in pits with a fair amount of damage.
Yeah, that car's looking pretty sad. I'm just having a look back at our replays or our events. He did have an issue on lap 8 and again on lap 7. So we'll try and catch this to see exactly what happened as we bring the replay up now. Just coming.
Looks like it's happened into Surtees.
Okay, he's running wide there through Clark, so we'll stay with him and just see what's occurred here. So it's a nice livery Tay's running. It looks like a Ferrari type livery to me.
Yeah, it's looking very Ferrari-esque, that's for sure.
So just coming up to Surtees now, folks, and we'll just see what's happened here to Tay Tran. So he's run wide coming out of Surtees into... Oh, yeah, he's hit that wall extremely hard and, smashed that whole side into the wall, just exiting Surtees there. And he's rolling it back on the track. Got reverse now, so that was good. He doesn't want to do that, so then he's been towed back to the pits, Trent.
Yeah, and the car's looking rather totaled. I'm not sure if he'll get back out or not, but only time will tell.
Yeah, so the retirements we've had so far is Ty Tran, as we've just seen. I don't think he will get out. Lachlan Wyatt has also retired, as well as Andrew Kanowski has retired from today's race.
And while that was all going on, we've had Tim Ballinger, I believe, come in for a scheduled pit stop.
Okay, so Tim's done an 11.4 second stop compared to Will Sutton's 10.3. So a normal pit window looks like it's going to be around about, the 10 to 12 second range.
And as I mentioned earlier, you can change 2 sets of tyres, either fronts or the rears, in that 10 seconds. So it'll be interesting to see whether any do actually choose to take tyres or not.
And if they do change the front or the rears, what's that do for the balance of the car?
Well, especially when the tyres are cold, putting cold fronts on the car really makes the car quite loose for the first probably half a lap to a lap. I'm not sure what the handling's like if you change the rears to cold, but it's probably a similar feeling, I would imagine, with no grip on the rear at all.
And then I guess once it warms up, I guess what I'm trying to get at is once the tyres warm up, if they're getting too much push, they'd probably take front, and if it's a bit loose in the back, they'd probably take rears. Is that the case?
Yeah, I'd say so. From my experience, I have done a race before where I took on fronts, and it was at Oran Park actually, and which was quite front intensive. I kept getting a lot of push through the corners, so I chose to take fronts in that race. And towards the end of that race, while a lot of cars were losing a lot of mid-corner speed, I seemed to be able to hold that just due to the extra front grip that I had at the time.
Okay, so that'll be interesting. I guess we don't know because we don't have a pit reporter, but it'd be interesting to see if any of the guys have taken tyres in that stop.
Yeah, Tim Ballinger's in a really good fight with Paul Nelson at the moment after he's come out from his pit stop.
Yeah, and they're battling Darren Carter, who's just up ahead of them as well. So this battle is for 10th, 11th and 12th at the moment. As we can see, Tim Ballinger having a look on the inside of Paul. Coming into Surtees here, it's side by side.
It's a drag down the straight now, and I think Paul's got the position on the inside of the corner, so it'll be a case of who's the braver on the brakes here. Nelson's giving him room, but he's run wide.
Yeah, it's pretty hard going around there too wide, but now Tim's tucked in. I think Paul must have got a slowdown, or do you think he's just let him through?
I think he ran wide, he missed his apex into that corner, and that just let Ballinger through. Whoa, I don't know what happened there.
Maybe Tim got a slowdown.
That's possible. I think he did. He's way off pace there.
Yeah, it looked like he had cut the corner pretty aggressively back there. And I'd say he's copped a slowdown penalty. We'll just have a quick look at the replay. Yeah, it looks like he's copped a slowdown penalty when he cut through Westfield there. He cut that very aggressively, and he might have just had his front lefts or his left wheels across the grass there. But at the moment, folks, it's all Josh Rogers here. His gap now 5.7 seconds. He's lapping in the very low 121s. Greg Barber's matching his pace, but he's 5.9 seconds down at this stage, and 23 laps to go. If we don't get a safety car, that's going to be nearly impossible to make up. John Allett is sitting in third, 2 seconds down from Greg Barber. Matt Trotman is in fourth, having with Aaron Osborne closely behind in fifth position. We haven't said much about AJ, but he's having a great race. Bit of a lonely race out there in sixth position, and 28 seconds down from the leader. The next competitor to him is Nathan Grouden, who is a good 23 seconds down from AJ at this point. Looks like Craig Jones is he's up into 8th position now, with Darren Connors just behind him in 9th.
Looks like Craig's running the new ERA paint scheme on. Previously these cars were running Maverick Welding. Now they've got Demidov Innovations, I believe, as their sponsor for this series now.
Yeah, that's a good pickup there. I didn't even realise they were ERA cars till he pointed that out, but definitely running the new paint job. Dayco, or Demidov I should say, sponsoring this team, so it's great to see.
It's definitely a nice looking car with the paint scheme that they're running. Looks like Craig's got a little bit of front wing damage there as well. I don't know if that's affecting him and it's allowing Darren Connors to catch him.
We're going to jump on board now with Craig as he comes around to complete another lap, and we'll do a lap with Craig and so you can just experience what it's like to run around here in a Star Mazda. Grab a replay of that, folks. It was commentator's curse yet again as we're riding on board with Craig, and he's unfortunately looks like he's had a bit of an incident. It always happens, doesn't it, Trent?
It's always the way, that's for sure. It looks like we've also had Will Sutton had a bit of an incident out of Sterling. By the looks of it, he's gone on the inside wall. He's taken some damage. He's currently sitting in the pitch waiting for repairs.
So having a look at Craig, initially I thought he might have got hit, but all of a sudden that car's just got completely loose coming into Hawthorn there, and it's just lost the rear. And I'll tell you what, he was lucky Darren didn't collect him, and he's hit that wall extremely hard.
I think Darren did get quite a little bit of a tap on him. It's damaged his front wing a little bit, so but yeah, that could have been a much bigger accident for both drivers.
Yeah, and that would have possibly brought out a safety car, as we're trying to find out here. We've got the end of what's occurred to Will, so we'll try and jump back a bit further and see if we can find out what occurred there. Yeah, he's lost the rear end coming through Sterling's there and collected the inside wall there. Fortunately for him, he doesn't have to take it too far back to the pits, but that's probably going to cost him a good result in today's race.
It looks like he's actually retired from the race.
Yeah, so at the moment, that brings our retirements up to 4. Will Sutton's retired, Tay Tran, Lachlan Wyatt, Andrew Kanowski, and we know Craig Jones. Oh, and we've got a car rolling in the pits there. That was, I'm trying to get the number, 015. That was Matthew Trotman.
It's a shame he was in 4th place too.
Yeah, well, it's very unusual to see people rolling in the pits. We've got to see exactly what happened there.
Yeah, it looks like he's got loose on that last corner and ended up rolling into the pit lane.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's got it all sorts of wrong there as he's gone 2 wheels into the pit lane. He's rolled it about 3 or 4 times. I tell you what, that would wake his pit crew up, wouldn't it?
I think it'd wake up the entire pit lane, that one. That's, yeah, it could have been potentially very dangerous.
Extremely, and that's the first time I've seen that in a long time, but Matthew Trotman is also taking service now that they're in the pits. So there's quite a few guys in trouble in the pits at the moment. And that would be Matthew Trotman, Craig Jones and Will Sutton, who's retired. But out front at the moment, folks, Josh Rogers has spread that gap to 7.3 seconds, 18 laps to go. We have not seen a safety car, and we've only got 9 out of the 18 drivers on the lead lap. It looks like the only battle we have on the track at the moment is Tim Ballinger and Paul Nelson, and Tim's having another look on the inside of Paul as they come through Sheens here. This is a blind corner, and he's made that move. So Tim Ballinger is now up to 7th position.
Yeah, it's certainly taken him a while to get that move done. Obviously had that mistake he'd made getting the slowdown. He's obviously caught back up again, and he's now gotten past him.
Yeah, that's right, and he's starting to stretch his legs a little bit as they come across the line now. We'll just have a look at that gap. He's got 0.5 of a second up already, so Tim's definitely got the pace.
And we have Rogers coming into the pits. Our leader is in the pit lane.
And Greg Barber's just taken the lead, but it'll be interesting as we can see Josh in there taking service now. See what sort of a pit stop he makes. And Aaron Osborne's also in the pits at this stage. So Josh Rogers did a 9.9 second stop, and the gap to John Allett is 13 seconds, so he's definitely going to make that time back up when John decides to pit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not, obviously, the in-lap and the out-lap, getting in and off the pit lane can make a big difference in time. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that gap changes from when Rogers went to the pits or not.
Yeah, that's right. And we saw that play out in the Skippy race where one driver not only made up a couple of seconds in the stop, but he was far more efficient on the entry and exit of pits, and he gained a total of about 3.5 seconds just through pit stops. As you can see now, Greg Barber coming around. He's decided to go around again, so has John Allett. So they've decided not to react to that pit strategy yet and to run their own race. So the top 5 are Greg Barber in 1st position, followed by John Allett in 2nd. Still both have to stop. Josh Rogers has taken a stop in 3rd, followed by AJ Bear in 4th, and then 5th is Aaron Osborne, who's also made their pit stop.
I think the worst thing that could happen for Barber and Allett out front here is if we get a safety car, because that would essentially put them behind anyone who's already pitted.
Well, that's exactly right, and safety cars have been threatened, but none have come out at this point. And we've had a few incidents, but fortunately the drivers could continue and hasn't affected this race as yet.
Yeah, I think the closest we've come is probably that incident with Matthew Trotman in the pit lane, but obviously he wasn't on the racing track or anything like that, so it's there was no need to call the safety car for that one.
Yeah, and the only, as we see now, Paul Nelson having a look on the inside of Tim, and Paul's taking that back. Oh, Paul's getting crossed up. They're into each other there, and Paul's gone around. Not Paul, who was that? It was some other car. I don't know who that was. I think that was Colin Sudi.
Yeah, I think that was Colin.
So he was a lap down, basically, wasn't he?
Yeah, he would have been fighting a lap down there.
So he's got the pace, and obviously he's decided he wanted to try to get past him, and it hasn't worked out for him at all.
Yeah, I think Tim's quite lucky he didn't cop any damage from that, because they did sort of intertwine a little bit there.
Yeah, we're just having a look at the replay now, and it looked like he got away with it because the netcode was working in his favour.
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it works against you, and then in that instance, it was one of those positive ones.
Yeah, well, we saw his wheel go right through the back of Colin Sudi there, so that netcode worked in the favour of Tim for sure. So for the viewers out there that aren't sure what we're talking about netcode, basically what that means is the servers are guessing where the cars are, and it sort of predicts where they are. In this case, when these cars should have collided, the server felt that, or thought they weren't connecting, so they get away with that.
It can work the opposite way sometimes too. News can be a couple of metres apart, but the server thinks that they're actually next to each other, and it causes an incident. Yeah, that's when the netcodes can be on the negative side of contact.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and sometimes one driver might feel like they've been contacted and the other one will say, well, I was nowhere near you. So, but you know, that's the risks we take racing online, but most of the time iRacing is very good with that netcode program.
Yeah, I think one of the things that can affect that is the location of particular servers that the drivers are connected to. Here we have all Australian drivers on an Australian server, so the ping, which is the time taken to send signals from the driver to the server, the lower the ping the better, and in our instance today, most of the drivers are roughly around the same ping, so that means that the server's calculating everything at around about the same rate, so we should see limits in big netcode issues. If, however, we had drivers from overseas in America or in Europe, we can see pings that are about 3 times that what we're seeing today with the Australian guys. So those are the things that affect the netcode and how that works.
Yeah, fantastic explanation there, Trent. And we've got John Allett now. He's closed right up on the back of Greg Barber, 4/10 of a second down. This is going to play in the hands of Josh Rogers if these two start battling at this point.
Definitely. I know they caught up to some traffic. Barber did have a 2-second lead over Allett, but yeah, they caught some traffic in some not so good places, and it's allowed Allett to get right on the back of Barber.
That's right, and have a look as we come up through Sheen's corner here. Just have a look how blind that is. We covered that off in the skip Barber, but their approaching speeds in the Star Mazda is a lot faster than that car, so they're using a lot of muscle memory to make that corner or make that apex.
Yeah, you cannot see that apex at all. I did a few practice laps here, and you've got to have an absolute blind faith to know when to actually turn it in, and you can lose a lot of time on that corner purely because you can't see where you're going, so it takes a lot of laps and a lot of confidence to build up in the car to know when to turn it and to know that it will stick and you'll make it through the corner.
Yeah, and it becomes almost like instinct, doesn't it, just to know the split second when to turn in to meet that apex spot on. Takes quite a lot of laps, doesn't it?
It does. I think I did maybe 15 to 20 laps. It's nothing compared to what these guys have been running, but even after that amount of time I still could not quite get it right. So some of these guys were running 20, 30, 40 laps per session during the last 3 weeks, so a lot of them have put in a lot of lap times. I think Rogers is probably one of them, and his lap times now are probably proving that.
Yeah, well, he's back down in the 120s. His last lap was 121.016. So he's taken 0.8 of a second out of our leader Greg Barber and John Allett in one lap. So he's now 11.4 seconds down from these guys, and these guys have to pit. So Josh is going to have a big lead once these pit stops wash through, I think.
Yeah, I think he's just some tracks, some drivers, they just click, and this could be one of those tracks where Rogers is just, it's just his track and it's his day and he's just going to own it today, and no one can get anywhere near him. And maybe the two guys behind him, it's just not a sort of track that they like or are accustomed to, and so they don't really go as fast. So yeah, I don't think anyone's going to touch Rogers today at all.
Yeah, and Brands Hatch is an interesting track for the iRacing community, because some people absolutely love this track, but some people absolutely loathe it. So it seems to really split opinion down the middle, doesn't it?
It definitely is. It's not. I know I've driven it a few times. It's not a track I love. Depending on the car as well, it can be a nice challenge, but yeah, it's hard to get the lines right. It's probably why people aren't particularly fans of this track. It's a little bit like Circuit of the Americas. You get a lot of off tracks there, even though you think you're staying within the limits of the track. But yeah, it's just hard to get that line correct lap after lap after lap.
And we've got Greg Barber now diving into the pits, and John Allett has gone around to take the lead, but Josh Rogers now coming back onto the main straight will take Greg, who hasn't even stopped, and we can see now Josh Rogers coming through as Greg Barber stops to take service.
It'll be interesting to see now whether or not Allett is slower or faster sitting behind Barber there. So if he gets in a good in-lap, he might be able to make a jump on the pit stop.
So Barber's just taken service and come out. His stop was a 13.4 second stop compared to Josh Rogers' 9.9 seconds. So Josh has made up at least 3 to 4 seconds just in the pit stop.
Yeah, it's a slower stop compared to what we've been seeing today too. So it'll be interesting if Allett comes in.
Yeah, well, with 10 laps remaining, they do have to make a stop, don't they?
Yes, they will definitely have to make a stop. We've got Adrian Jarvis is stuck on the side of the track here. Race control is currently looking, and we might see a safety car.
We've got a safety car.
There it goes.
Oh dear, this is going to be interesting, because now John Allett is going to have to dive into the pits, and this is going to be costly. And he's chosen.
Oh no, he can't. The pits are closed.
This is going to cost him big time, because now the whole field has pitted apart from John Allett, and that's going to pretty much send him to the back of the very long queue.
Yeah, that's not good. He needs to be careful. He's not going to run out of fuel here too. He's on lap 32, so that's right, like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, that's right on the cusp of where you really want to be.
So we're just going to jump back and have a look at the incident that did bring out this safety car, and unfortunately it was Adrian Jarvis that did come unstuck here. So let's have a look. So are these guys running the no escape rule today?
Yes, we do. If we have a crash, the driver has to notify race control that they are stuck and they can't move off the track. Race control will then check the situation to see whether or not a safety car would be needed, and upon checking that, they will either call the safety car or not, and they'll give instruction to the driver that they can escape to the back of the pits. Okay, and
poor Adrian, he's come unstuck big time through Westfield. He's lost the end and he's hit the fence, gone through the fence 3 times at the moment, and I can see why he couldn't continue, because he's pretty much wrecked the whole side of that car, and he's come to rest 100 metres from Sheens. So that's what's brought out our safety car today. So this is going to be a mighty interesting race now, because Josh Rogers has just managed to take that lead over Greg Barber, but these guys are going to be closed straight up and in traffic. And where's Barber? He's down a few, but the biggest loser, it must be said, will be John Allett here.
Yeah, good. Should know it coming in now.
Yeah, he's going to be, this is going to really wreck his day, I think. Once all these guys go through, he's going to be right down there and probably 13th position. Maybe.
We are getting the call that race control is waving around any lap car that might be in the mix of things. So John Allett might be okay if his lap cars are in the way.
Okay, so that will probably be John Allett will get a wave through. AJ Bear has got a wave through as well, I would say. They're only waving them through if they're in the way, aren't they?
I think that's what they're doing, yes. I was just trying to monitor the race control channel just to sort of see what was happening.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that because 2 cars have passed safety car, and it means Josh Rogers will be the first car, followed by Greg Barber, then Aaron Osborne, Nathan Groudon. Tim Ballinger still has a car in front of him, but it looks like more cars are being waved through. Which means we've got John now. He's sitting down there in 6th spot. So with eight laps to go, it's going to be pretty frantic here.
Yeah, I meant to check whether or not how long was Allett's pit stop. I was wondering whether or not he might have taken on some fresh tyres just to try and get a little bit of an edge over the rest of the field.
12.1 seconds, so he could have taken a couple of tyres in that stop. He could have probably even taken all 4 tyres if he had known, but I guess hindsight's a brilliant thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think he's lucky. He did say that he was about to run out of fuel. He appealed to race control to let him in to the pits, but they did actually open, so he was lucky there that he was able to enter the pit lane on the lap he did, otherwise it was going to run out of fuel.
Oh, that would have been disastrous. At least now he's in 6th position and he can at least fight to try to get his way back up to where he was. But with 8 laps to go, it's going to be a full-on sprint to the end now.
Pace car is pulled off and the leader will be in control of the race.
Okay, so folks, we've got 7 laps to go. Josh Rogers in first, Greg Barber second, third. Aaron Osborne having a look at Greg Barber at the moment. But we'll keep an eye on John Allett. But Aaron Osborne's having a look, but not making a move there.
I think Adrian may have retired from this race. He's still in the server, but he may have retired from this race now.
Yeah, as they go 2 wide down here, we've got Tim Ballinger on the inside, followed by Aaron Osborne, and they were trying to get around Nathan Groudon in 4th position there. But Josh Rogers and Greg Barber have both started to gap this field now. We've got Aaron Osborne and John Allett side by side. Aaron on the inside, John on the outside, and John's got through to take another position.
Oh, they were close coming through that corner there. I think they might have had a little bit of contact. They were lucky to get away with it. But I think Allett's got a point to prove. He needs to get up the front there. That's
right, and Aaron Osborne now has dropped from 3rd down to 6th. And they'd wheel-to-wheel contact through Hawthorn, and they're lucky to get away with that. But at the moment out front we've got Josh Rogers. He's got a handicap already, 1.3 seconds over Greg Barber in 2nd. Then Nathan Groudon, followed by Tim Ballinger, and then John Allett with a bit of a point to prove.
We just had Aaron Osborne retire from the race.
Okay, that's interesting because his car looked okay. So
yeah, I couldn't see anything wrong. He's just pulled into the pit lane and retired.
That's a shame because he's in for a top 6 finish there. But as the action and the laps tick down, Josh Rogers in the lead, Greg Barber still 2nd, Nathan Groudon 3rd, and we've got a car. Tim Ballinger's into the fence hard. This is going to bring out another safety car. His car's absolutely trashed. So this is probably going to bring out safety car number 2 at this stage.
It looks like he might be moving the car into an access point.
Just having a look, it all happened coming out of Hawthorns here. And he's basically got his wheels on that grass again, and again it's flicked him, like we've seen before, to other cars, into the fence. He's hit the inside of the fence, come across the track, and then hit the other side of the fence. So, oh dear, that was a nasty hit. So as the race continues, folks, it looks like we're not under yellow. And as Trent said, looks like Tim might have got his car to an access point. So Josh Rogers in front, followed by Greg Barber second, third Nathan Growden, fourth is now John Allett, and he's closing in on Nathan.
He's got 4.5 laps left to try and get himself onto the podium.
He's definitely pushing. He's taken 0.8 of a second out of Nathan in that last lap, so he's not mucking around here.
Well, he certainly deserves. I don't want to take anything away from Nathan Growden at all, but Allett definitely deserves to be on the podium for this race. He's running up the front the entire time until that safety car really burnt him there. Probably have a little bit of deja vu from the Road America round, where he had that 15-second lead before the safety car was deployed, and he ended up finishing second or third in that race due to the way that the safety car fell for him. So it's another time that the safety car really has not helped John Allett.
That's right, and Josh Rogers just set a fastest lap of a 1:27.93, and he's pulled that gap out to over 2 seconds now.
And that's faster than qualifying pace, that is.
Yeah, I think Josh has one speed, and that's just flat out from what I've seen today.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of if, but when Allett catches Growden, and catching a car is one thing, making the pass is a completely different story.
Yeah, that's right, and I'm sure Nathan's going to try and make that Star Mazda pretty wide when John does arrive, which should be in the next lap, because John's taken another 0.6 of a second last lap out of that gap. We'll see what is... and Nathan responded this lap.
Yeah, the gap stayed fairly stable for that lap, so we see how we go. He might be on the limit here. If he gets himself in the draft, it sort of gives him that chance of getting that little bit closer.
Yeah, well, the gap now is 0.8 of a second, as we can see now. John coming around, coming into Surtees now. So folks, we'll stay with this battle, because this is pretty much the battle of the race at this stage. But giving you your top 10 while we're watching. Josh Rogers in front, Greg Barber second, Nathan Growden third, John Allett fourth, AJ Bear sitting in 5th position at the moment, Paul Nelson 6th, 7th Darren Carter, 8th Darren Connors and 1 lap down, Colin Sudi 9th, and Tim Ballinger has retired but is sitting in 10th at this stage. So with 2 laps remaining, it's been, must be said, this race has been all Josh Rogers today, and he's definitely had that pace today, Trent.
Yeah, he's just dominated this round completely to that lead that he established at the beginning of the race, and he's just picked up where he left off after that yellow car, after the safety car, sorry. We did have Craig Jones into the fence down the back straight as well. Safety car will not be deployed for that incident, and the track is now clear.
Yeah, and he's looks like he won't be coming back out for the duration of this race, so Brands Hatch has been quite costly to a lot of our drivers here today, with I'd say over half the field, or about half the field having some sort of incident.
Yeah, the attrition rate has actually been quite high this round. We got Allett right on the back of Groudon now.
And he's timed this pretty well with 1 lap to go. We'll see how wide Nathan can make this Star Mazda and if he can hold off Allett. So I guess if you're in Allett's shoes, you'd be trying to get through Surtees really well, wouldn't you, and getting a pass down into Hawthorn at this stage.
Yeah, that's probably the best passing opportunity he gets. Other than that, probably out of Stirling heading into Clark into the final corner.
So coming into Surtees now, folks, so we'll just see how John gets his run. And I'll tell you what, Nathan's holding his own, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely not close enough to sort of have a go here. If he gets a good run through Hawthorn and Westfield and around that back section of the track, get himself into a position to make a pass into the final turn.
Yeah, well, at this stage, it's probably going to be the only chance he gets, but I think these laps are just going to run out on him as we're coming down now into Stirling's, coming through, trying to close this gap up. But as we come back to our leader, Josh Rogers takes out round 4 of the Open Star Mazda Australian Championship today at Brands Hatch. And Greg Barber second. Nathan Groudon does come home in third, with John Allett a very close fourth. Coming home in fifth will be AJ Bear, and that's a pretty good drive by AJ there to finish on the lead lap. Paul Nelson will be coming home in sixth position, followed by Darren Carter in seventh, and the last person on the lead lap today.
It's actually surprising to see the amount of people that we only had 6 cars left on the lead lap. Obviously the amount of green flag running we had will have something to do with that, but it's definitely a surprise to see so many people not on the lead lap.
Yeah, well, we only ended up having, 9 or so on the lead lap. But while the guys are finishing up, we might bring up Tim Ballinger and Adrian Jarvis from TD Racing and have a chat with them. Hi Adrian and Tim, welcome to RRTV's commentary box. Unfortunately, it looks like you guys both came unstuck in a pretty big way out there today.
Yeah, mate, just bug it up there towards the end, but anyway, what can you do? But big thank you to Adrian for coming on board with us today and having a bit of fun, so it was good fun till then.
Yeah, well, Adrian, you're doing really well out there, gaining spots. You're classified as 12th at the end of things. Apart from that incident, I think you should be pretty happy with that performance today.
Yeah, Benny, I'm pretty happy. Like I said, I only had about 3 qualifying runs, so basically three times I've done a qualifying run and a race, so pretty happy with the result. Gutted that I had that spin and crash and brought out the safety car, but other than that I think I was running okay, just keeping up to my own pace and trying to stay out of trouble basically.
Yeah, no, it looks quite neat out there, and getting back to you, Tim, you were having a great run there up until you came unstuck coming off Hawthorn there, and from our point of view, that looked like a pretty big hit.
Oh yeah, might have knocked some sense in me if I'm lucky.
Fair enough. But apart from those incidents, how did you find the race today?
Oh, I buggered up, mate. I pitted a bit too early and I've come out behind traffic and just near impossible to pass, and Paul and I had contact there at one stage and I was trying to get through and eventually cleared him and got into it, and then some knucklehead brought the safety car out and ruined my strategy. Yeah,
I don't know who that knucklehead was, but it's definitely livened up the race from our point of view, because at that point it was just the field was very spread out. So anyway, So Adrian, how did you find running the Star Mazda today?
No, it was good fun, Bernie. Once again, I'd like to thank Tim and the guys at TD Racing for giving me a car to run today, and for the setup and the help for running around the track. It's always nice to get that hand around here. It improves. Your lap times are going to come down just from you practicing and understanding the track. So basically today I was just running out there trying to put my laps down, not trying to get into too many positions where I was going to take someone else out. It got a little bit hairy there on the start. I got a bit crowded there in turn one, so I had to back out of that, and I had someone else right behind me, so that was a bit scary there to start with. But once the nerves settled down, about lap 8 or 9 there, I started getting into a nice little rhythm and settled into it, and I was enjoying it right up until that point that it got a little bit loose on me and chucked me into the fence. So no, quite happy with my performance on a whole, I think, Bernie.
Fantastic. And Tim, we noticed you had, I think, 4 TD Racing cars in today's race. Is that something that we can look forward to for future rounds of Ozsmack?
Oh, we're hoping, yeah. Like I can only do the Sunday one, not the Thursday night one. Aaron's doing that now. So, we're hoping to have me, Andrew, Darren, Adrian when he's available, and Andrew is the other one I'm thinking of. Yeah, we had 5 out there today, so unfortunately Andrew didn't get through the second turn. I think he got contact, so that ruined his race, and I think Darren's was still going at the end. Darren and I got caught out with a safety car there with contact, so, but, it's good fun, and it's a good series to get involved in, and just hopefully better results will come.
I'm sure they will. It's a matter of time, in my opinion. But I'll hand you over to Trent Thomas to see if he's got any questions for you guys.
I think you've covered everything, Bernie, but I just wanted to obviously thank you guys for coming in and racing and putting on the show for everybody and all the viewers and whatnot, and appreciate your involvement in the series, and I'm glad that you find it an enjoyable series. I know, Adrian, you're only a newcomer to the series, and Tim, you've done a couple of races now, so thanks to you guys for showing up.
A big thank you to you guys here at Ozsmack who put all this on, and of course Bernie for the coverage, and thanks to the guys out there we raced with. It was all pretty clean and fun, just hard work, but we'll get better at it.
Yeah, sure will. And before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to your sponsors?
Yeah, just big thank you to all the boys in the team, especially all those that raced today, and big shout out to GLW Freight Management for their sponsorship, and thank you to everyone, like I said, and good thank you to everyone watching at home.
No worries. Well, thanks for coming up, guys. And looks like we've got Greg Barber down there, Trent. So we'll bring him up, and do you want to have a chat with him?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. G'day, Greg. Welcome to the RRTV commentary box. Seems like you were having a good battle whole race with John Allett there. How did you find the racing today?
Yeah, g'day, guys. It was good. Josh was just obviously too quick for both me and John today. John kept the pressure on me for quite a few laps there, so I had to be really, really careful not to sort of make too many mistakes, and thankfully there was a few laps there where I was able to pull a little bit of a gap on him.
Yeah, I was looking at the qualifying times. You just missed out on pole by the smallest of margins, so I actually thought at the beginning of the broadcast I was tipping you to be the car to watch, or the driver to watch, to take today's race. So I don't know where Josh came from, but he was, like you said, he was in a class of his own today, so you and John Allett there were having a good battle until he got caught out by that safety car. Seemed to play into your hands a bit there.
Yeah, no, Josh must have made some gains overnight, that's for sure. I kind of, when he got past me, I kind of sort of let him get away there at the start, and just sort of expecting him to make some blues and come back to me a bit, given that, it's really hard to put consistent lap times together around here. But, when the safety car came out, it was a bit unlucky for John. I'd actually, when I pitted the lap earlier, I made a bit of a blunder in the pit stop and cost myself about 3 seconds, so it was lucky in that case, because John would have got me otherwise.
Yeah, we were monitoring the pit stop times, and most of the pit stops are roughly around the 10-second mark, and we noticed yours was about 13 seconds, so we were very interested to see what would happen when John made his stop, whether or not he would jump you there with whatever it was, the extra time that you took in the pit stop. So yeah, rather unfortunate for him, but lucky for you, and you come home in second place.
Yeah, no, it was good. Yeah, thanks to Matthew for being the what do you call it, the steward there, and also to Trent for hosting the series. It's a really fun series.
And I'll pass you over to Bernie to see if he has any other last minute questions he wants to ask.
The only question I've got for you, Greg, is were you surprised by Josh's pace once he got out in front?
Yeah, I was a little bit. I was surprised by the consistency of his pace more than anything. As Trent said, looking at the qualifying times, qualifying was a bit funny at this track because you could put a good lap together and get a pretty good time out of it, but it took a lot of laps to try and get that time out of it, let me tell you. And a lot of laps get left with. Sorry about my kids, by the way. A lot of laps get left. You lose a couple of tenths here or there, and it's really hard to put a lap together. So as I said before, when he sort of started disappearing off in front of me, I wasn't worried too much about it. I didn't want to overextend myself and try and pick up my pace too much and be unsafe. So I was just kind of waiting for him to come back to me a little bit at the start there, but around lap 10 to 15 I started putting in some pretty hot laps, just trying to bridge the gap, and I sort of managed to peg him back a tenth or two here or there, but it's really hard to run at that pace and not drop the odd tenth or two on other laps.
Yeah, well, you definitely put in a good run there, and you had a fantastic result, so well done on that. So before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to any of your sponsors or race mates or anything like that?
No, mate, I'm full on privateer these days. I used to get involved in all that sort of stuff, but not anymore. This is just for fun for me. But I did have a few mates tune in, so I'm sure they were watching. So shout out to them.
Fantastic. Well, once again, well done, Greg, and we'll hopefully see you in a few other races.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and go Frosty.
Yeah, I'm recording it at the moment. No spoilers.
Thanks, mate. See yous.
Okay, folks, before we bring up our race admin, I'm going to take you through the final results of the whole field here. And so Josh Rogers wins today's race, followed by Greg Barber in second, third Nathan Growden, fourth was John Allett, fifth AJ Bear, and sixth was Paul Nelson, and the last person on the lead lap. Darren Carter finished seventh, followed by Darren Connors, Colin Sudi, and then Tim Ballinger 6 laps down and had crashed out in 10th. 11th Aaron Osborne, and then we're into our retirees here. Adrian Jarvis, Craig Jones 13th, Matthew Trotman 14th, Will Sutton 15th, 16th Tay Tran, Lachlan Wyatt and Andrew Kanowski, who retired on lap 1. So it looks like we've had quite a lot of casualties here today, Trent.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've lost almost half the field through incidences and whatnot. A few of them quite early on in the race, unfortunately. But hopefully they can come back next round and have a good one.
Yeah, hopefully they can. I've noticed Scott Newton's in the green room. Was he helping with race control today?
No, I don't believe so. I think he's just getting ready for the next race.
Okay, fair enough. Well, anyway, folks, we're going to wrap up today's race. Our next broadcast today, come back and join us at 4:15 for the Australian Grand Prix Series. It's going to be a 42-lap race, 50-minute time certain, and we will have Brenton O'Brien and Scott Connors calling that race today. So I'm going to go and have a bit of a rest now for the next half an hour, and we will see you then. So on behalf of Trent Thomas, I'm Bernie Weemers, and thanks for watching RRTV.